Hello, and welcome to TerraNash. I'm Aiden, your narrator for tonight. Let's take this time together to step away from the rush of the day and ease into a world of dreams and wonder. Find a comfortable place to sit or lie down, letting go of any tension as you settle in. Close your eyes and let your breathing slow. Inhale deeply and exhale gently, letting your body relax with each breath. With every exhale, feel yourself drift further into calmness. I'll tell you a story from the ancient skies and deep cosmic seas. The churning of the ocean, a tale where gods and demons set aside their quarrels to seek something greater than themselves. The nectar of immortality. It's a story of celestial cooperation, timeless secrets, and the gentle balance that keeps the stars aligned. But before we begin, we'd love to hear from you. Where are you listening from? And what time is it as you settle in to hear this story? We'd also love to know what kinds of stories you'd enjoy next. Your thoughts and suggestions inspire us, so please share them in the comments below. If you'd like even more from us, you can check out our Patreon for early access to all our stories and a curated Spotify playlist as well. And if you've been enjoying our bedtime stories, subscribing is a simple and free way to support us. Your support means the world to us, and together we can make TerraNash an even more peaceful place for storytelling. Now, wherever you are, take a moment to settle in. Let your body grow heavy and still. Allow your breath to soften, like a gentle tide ebbing in and out. With each inhale, gather the quiet around you. With each exhale, release the noise of the day. Feel yourself gently floating, as if resting on a calm ocean under starlight. Let your mind drift like a boat without anchors, guided only by the rhythm of peace and curiosity. And as you sink deeper into stillness, let me take you to a time before time, to an ocean that shimmered with secrets, and to the moment when all of creation held its breath. This is the story of the churning of the ocean. Long ago, when the stars still hummed lullabies to the sleeping universe, the heavens began to dim. The celestial gardens of Indra wilted, their blossoms curling as if weary of blooming. The rivers of the gods slowed to a crawl, and a soft stillness crept over the skies like a hush before a storm. The nectar of immortality, the Amrita, had been lost, sunk deep into the swirling depths of the cosmic ocean. Without it, even the gods felt time brushing against them, soft as a breeze, but undeniable. Whispers echoed across the golden halls of the Devas. Hope began to fray. In this quiet unraveling, Lord Vishnu, the Preserver, gathered the gods in his calm presence. His voice was gentle but clear, a ripple across still water. He spoke of the churning, Samudra Manthan, a path both divine and dangerous. To retrieve the nectar, he said, you must join hands with those who once stood against you. Murmurs rose like wind among the gods. Could they truly align with the Asuras, their ancient foes? These were beings of chaos and ambition, fire where they were light. But time had grown thin, and the light of heaven was fading. With heavy hearts and the faint shimmer of hope, the gods looked to the horizon, where storm clouds brood over the endless ocean. And so, the journey began, not of war, but of cooperation, not of conquest, but of trust. Fragile and trembling like a candle in the dark. At the edge of the universe, where stardust touches the sea, the gods arrived in silence. The ocean stretched endlessly before them, vast and unknowable, its surface smooth as glass. And then, from beneath dark clouds, the Asuras came. Towering and fierce, they carried the weight of ancient grudges in their eyes, but also curiosity. For they too had felt the withering of their power, the dulling of their might. The nectar called to them just as it called to the gods. The two sides stood facing one another, waves lapping at their feet, the air thick with old wounds. But before anger could take root, Vishnu appeared once more, his form radiant, his presence stilling the storm within every heart. He spoke not of the past, but of what could be. If we churn the ocean together, we shall share in its gifts. Let the ocean decide what it will yield. Reluctantly, a pact was formed. Mandara, the sacred mountain, was chosen as the churning rod. The mighty serpent, Vasuki, coiled in cosmic power, would serve as the rope. The gods held one end, the Asuras the other, a living tether between light and shadow. With great effort, they began. The mountain was brought forth, heavy and vast, and placed upon the ocean. But as they prepared to churn, the mountain sank into the depths, pulled down by its own weight. A gasp passed through both camps. Were they doomed before they'd begun? Vishnu did not waver. In an instant, he took the form of Kurma, the great cosmic turtle, and descended into the ocean's heart. Upon his vast, serene shell, Mandara rested once more, balanced and still. Above the waves, the gods and Asuras looked to one another. The ocean stirred beneath their feet. The pact was real. The churning was about to begin. And though neither side knew what the ocean would reveal, they each held the same breath of hope, soft, shared, and sacred. With the mountain steadied upon the broad shell of the cosmic turtle, the churning began. The gods took their place at Vasuki's tail, the Asuras at his head, and with a rhythm older than time, they pulled. First the gods, then the demons, in perfect counterbalance. The ocean groaned beneath the strain, and then, slowly, it began to spin. Waves rose like breath, swirling around the mountain in shimmering spirals. The surface glowed with celestial light, and deep within, ancient secrets began to stir. The ocean, once silent and still, now murmured with magic long buried. As the mountain turned, its tip brushing the sky, divine energy crackled through the air. Lightning danced across the clouds above. The sea foamed with dreams. And yet, the work was slow and heavy. Every pull of the serpent was an act of will, of trust tested again and again. The gods, though patient, felt the ache in their limbs. The Asuras, proud and forceful, grew restless. But still, they pulled, bound by purpose, pulled by destiny. All around them, the ocean shimmered with possibility. In that moment, a strange and beautiful harmony was born. Not peace, but something like it. A fragile truce upheld not by words, but by effort. The ocean, ancient and wise, responded. It began to give. But before the gifts could rise, it first released something dark, something neither side expected. Without warning, the ocean darkened. The gentle glow faded into violet mist, then into shadow. From the depths, a terrible substance surged upward, black and swirling, hissing with venomous heat. It was Hala, the primordial poison, older than creation, potent enough to dissolve stars. The gods recoiled. The Asuras fell back. The very air seemed to burn as the poison spread, curling toward the sky, choking light itself. Trees withered, clouds cracked with thunder, and for the first time, the pact threatened to break. But before panic could claim the moment, a calm presence stepped forward. Lord Shiva, the silent ascetic, appeared amidst the rising chaos. His eyes held stillness like a mountain. Without a word, he raised his hands and gathered the poison into his palm. He drank it, not with fear, but with compassion. The poison stopped at his throat, turning it blue like twilight caught in stone. The world watched, breathless, as the venom glowed in his neck, trapped, yet tamed by his strength. Peace returned, slowly. The skies lightened. The mountains steadied. The ocean, as if grateful, shimmered once more in soft hues of silver and sapphire. Shiva sat in silence, eyes closed. The poison within him, now a symbol of sacrifice. And so the churning continued, deeper now, steadier. The gods and demons, shaken but resolute, resumed their task. The first test had come, and they had endured. What waited next in the waters would be not curse, but blessing. And the ocean, now fully awake, was ready to reveal its treasures. The ocean, having tested them with poison, now began to sing. A gentle hum rose from the depths, soothing, harmonious, as if the sea itself exhaled in relief. With every turn of the mountain, the water shimmered brighter, glowing in waves of gold, silver, and sapphire. And then, one by one, treasures began to emerge, each a marvel cradled in light. First came Kamadhenu, the divine cow of abundance, her skin glistening like pearls, her breath scented with jasmine and sandalwood. She stepped gracefully onto the shore, her hooves not wet from the sea, a gift to nourish the faithful and bless the earth. Next, Airavata, the white elephant with countless trunks, rose from the sea foam. With thunder in his steps and clouds swirling around him, he bowed his regal head toward the heavens, his arrival heralding the return of celestial rain. From the churning waters came the Kalpavriksha, the wish-granting tree, its branches heavy with fruit no one had ever seen before, each one pulsing gently with light and promise. It rooted itself by the shore, unshaken by wind or time, its leaves whispering the dreams of those who dared to hope. Then emerged Goddess Lakshmi, seated upon a lotus of radiant pink, her presence bringing a hush to the world. Even the waves paused to behold her, draped in silks spun from starlight. Her eyes held compassion and grace. As she rose, the gods bowed, and even the Asuras lowered their heads, not in submission, but in awe. She chose Vishnu as her companion, stepping beside him like twilight beside the setting sun. More gifts followed, golden chariots, divine jewels, heavenly garlands, each more dazzling than the last. The gods accepted them with reverence. The Asuras, however, began to whisper. Their hands itched for more, their eyes narrowing as the ocean yielded its beauty. Yet the one treasure they all awaited had not yet appeared. The Amrita, the nectar of immortality, remained hidden beneath the waves, and though the gifts were wondrous, they were not the goal. The churning must continue. So, with their arms aching and hearts racing, gods and demons resumed their labor, knowing the greatest reward was still beneath them, waiting to rise. But not all hearts remained patient, and in the quiet corners of ambition, the seeds of betrayal had begun to sprout. As the ocean turned and the stars watched in silent vigil, a golden glow began to rise from the depths, brighter than the treasures before, warmer than any light the world had known. The waters parted gently, as if in reverence, and from the heart of the sea emerged a radiant vessel. It was the Kalasha, the sacred pot of Amrita, the nectar of immortality. Within it swirled a luminous liquid, soft as moonlight, pulsing like a heartbeat. The gods inhaled deeply, a weight lifting from their spirits. The Asuras leaned forward, eyes wide, breath held. For a moment, all was still. The churning slowed. Even the waves seemed to pause, cradling the nectar like a cradle made of starlight. Then, without a word, the Asuras lunged. Quick and forceful, they snatched the pot from the waves and gathered around it, shielding it with their bodies. Greed gleamed in their eyes, not out of wickedness, but from the deep, aching fear of being left behind. The gods stepped back, stunned, but not surprised. They had known, in some quiet part of their hearts, that this moment would come. The fragile truce had shattered like glass upon stone. The Asuras shouted in triumph, already dividing amongst themselves what had not yet been shared. It was then that Vishnu stirred once more. His expression was not anger, but quiet resolve, his gaze steady as the sea. He knew the nectar could not be claimed by force, nor shared by pleading. It would take something else, something unexpected. In the heavens, the stars began to shimmer with a softer hue. The gods watched their protector step forward into the unfolding storm, not with sword or command, but with a new plan forming behind his serene eyes. The nectar had been found, but the battle for balance had only just begun, and in the next breath of the cosmos, beauty would wear a new face, and illusion would become the sharpest truth of all. In the midst of rising tension and whispered betrayal, the ocean shimmered once more, not with fury, but with elegance. From its depths rose a figure unlike any seen before. She was grace woven into form, beauty shaped from moonlight and stardust. Her name was Mohini, an enchantress born of Vishnu's divine will, created not to fight, but to soothe, to redirect, to restore balance with charm instead of chaos. The Asuras fell silent. Their laughter faded. Their eyes widened, captivated by her radiance. Even the waves stilled, as if listening. Mohini's presence was soft and powerful, like a lullaby sung in a language older than time. She walked among gods and demons alike, her voice gentle, her smile warm. "Such a sacred nectar," she said, her tone like silk over stone, "must be shared with care. Let me serve as your guide. Let me ensure fairness." The Asuras, bewitched by her grace, eagerly agreed. They handed her the kalasha, entrusting her with the very thing they had seized only moments before. The gods, recognizing Vishnu's divine form behind the illusion, said nothing, but watched with quiet hope. Mohini began to pour the nectar, cup by cup. To the gods first, she offered it with steady hands and a smile that masked the clever glint in her eyes. The Asuras waited, convinced their turn would come, swaying slightly in their daze. One by one, the gods drank, Indra, Agni, Vayu, Varuna, each sip restoring their strength, their brilliance, their timeless nature. The heavens brightened, the skies softened, the balance began to return. But not all were lost in the enchantment. Hidden among the demons was one who saw through the illusion. Rahu, sharp-eyed and cunning, disguised himself in the glow of the gods and crept forward. With a bowed head and a stolen robe, he took his place in the line and raised the cup to his lips. The nectar touched his tongue, just a drop, and in that instant, the sun and moon cried out, seeing the deception. Mohini turned swiftly, her divine illusion cracking just enough to reveal the truth beneath. With a flash of cosmic precision, she raised her hand. In a single motion, Rahu was struck down. But it was too late. The nectar had passed his lips. His head, now severed, lived on, immortal and forever incomplete. From that day forth, Rahu would chase the sun and moon across the sky, trying to swallow them whole, bringing about eclipses, reminders of the moment when shadow tried to drink the light. And yet, the churning had done its work. The nectar had been preserved. Balance had been restored. Mohini bowed once more, and her form dissolved into mist, her purpose fulfilled. The ocean was calm again. The gods stood renewed. The demons, though tricked, did not rise in rage. Something in them understood. They had played their part in a story older than pride, and the stars blinked softly above, as if pleased with the ending still to come. The air held a quiet stillness, as if even the cosmos paused to exhale. The nectar was gone, poured cup by cup into the hands of the gods, while the Asuras stood frozen in the soft afterglow of enchantment. Only now did they realize what had passed. The truth struck like a slow ripple through water, gentle but inescapable. Mohini had vanished, the vessel of Amrita now empty, and the gods glowed with renewed strength. Immortality pulsed through them, subtle but unmistakable, like a golden thread woven through their very being. A murmur stirred among the Asuras. It started as confusion, then bloomed into anger. They had been deceived, their greed gently bypassed, their ambition outwitted not with force, but with grace. Some cried out, Others clenched their fists, but none dared strike. A strange calm held them back, as if the sea itself whispered, this was how it must be. Then came the sound, a celestial rhythm, soft and slow. Wasn't the crash of waves, nor the rumble of the churning mountain. It was the pulse of balance restoring itself, a divine harmony realigning the cosmos. The gods stood in silence, not boasting, not gloating. They had won, yes, but not through war. They had trusted in Vishnu's wisdom, in patience, and in the still power of illusion. The Asuras, though tricked, were not destroyed. They had not been cast into oblivion, nor punished beyond return. Even Rahu, whose severed head now soared across the sky, found his place in the story. He would chase the sun and moon through the heavens, his hunger eternal, his path marked by shadows that drifted across the earth in eclipse. But he was not cast away. He became a part of the sky's rhythm, a reminder that every light carries shadow, and every shadow chases light. And though the Asuras grumbled and faded into the distant corners of the world, they carried with them a piece of the tale, a quiet understanding that the nectar they sought could not be held by force alone. On the shores of the now still ocean, the mountain rested. Vasuki curled himself in sleep, his great coils glinting faintly beneath the stars. The turtle Kurma vanished once more into the depths, his task complete. The gods looked to one another, not with triumph, but with quiet gratitude. They had survived the churning, not only of ocean, but of pride, of fear, and of fate. And above them, the stars returned to their full glow, as if the heavens themselves approved of the delicate trick that had restored the balance. Once more, the sea had quieted. What once surged with chaos and possibility now lay still, a mirror to the heavens. The mountain Mandara, once the axis of turmoil, stood half sunken in the gentle waters, its duty fulfilled. No longer did gods and demons pull at the serpent's coils. No longer did fire and fury clash upon the tides. The ocean had given all it held. High above, the sky breathed again. Clouds drifted lazily. The stars twinkled in patterns long forgotten, and the moon poured silver over the world like a mother's lullaby. In the stillness, even the gods felt small, but peacefully so, as if reminded they were part of something larger than victory. The gods, now radiant with the strength of Amrita, stood in quiet reflection. Their bodies felt lighter, as though divinity had woven itself more finely through their forms. Yet none of them spoke of conquest or power. Instead, they watched the ocean with soft eyes, grateful. Even the Asuras, though they had vanished back into their realms, were not lost in bitterness. Deep within them, some ember of understanding remained, for in their hearts they had seen the ocean's beauty. They had felt the stillness after chaos, the quiet after desire. And though tricked, they had played a role in the great churning of all things. Vishnu, ever the preserver, appeared one last time by the edge of the waves. His gaze moved not to the gods, nor the sky, but to the ocean itself. With a hand over his heart, he bowed, not in command, but in respect. The sea, in turn, shimmered gold once more, offering its silent blessing. The great turtle Kurma slipped back into the depths. Vasuki slithered away into the clouds, his duty done. Mandara would rest beneath the waves, untouched and undisturbed. The heavens, now restored, turned gently once more. The stars sang a quieter song. The rhythm of time resumed its tender pace. And across the world, those who listened closely could still feel the echoes of that moment, the pull of unity, the turning of trust, the stillness after it all. The sky was gentle once more, not because conflict had ended, but because balance had returned. And in that balance, even the fiercest of rivals had found their place. Night fell with the hush of a closing lotus, its petals folding gently around the world. The sea, now stilled from its cosmic stirring, glistened like a vast blanket of ink and light. Stars shimmered above, as if watching with knowing eyes, and the air was filled with a quiet, no longer burdened by unrest, but enriched with memory. On the shore, where the final ripples of the churning lapped at his feet, Lord Vishnu stood alone. The gods had returned to their heavenly realms. The Asuras had disappeared into the shadows of their own dominions. The story, it seemed, had ended. But Vishnu remained, not as a ruler, not as an avatar, but simply as a listener. He closed his eyes, and the ocean spoke, not in words, but in feeling. A deep, ancient wisdom rose from its depths, slow and warm like the tide itself. The churning had not just brought forth poison or nectar, not just gifts or trials. It had revealed the truth of all things, that within every being exists both shadow and light, both chaos and calm, and only through turning, through effort, cooperation, and surrender, could the hidden nectar within be revealed. Balance, the ocean whispered. That is the nectar. Vishnu opened his eyes. He smiled. Not a wide, triumphant smile, but one full of quiet understanding. In that smile was the knowledge that the cosmos was always in motion, always churning. There would be more storms, more questions, more shadows. But there would also be more light, more stillness, and more beginnings. As the breeze picked up and the stars shifted in their dance, Vishnu stepped into the sea. His form shimmered, then faded, becoming one with the quiet ripples that returned to the ocean's heart. The waves closed behind him, peaceful and whole. Some say if you stand by the ocean at midnight, when the wind is warm and the sky is soft, you can hear that whisper still. A story carried by the tide. A reminder that within you, too, there is an ocean. And sometimes to find your light, you must first stir the depths. So sleep now, dear listener. Let the waves carry you. Let the stars watch over you. And as you drift, remember, the ocean keeps its secrets, but it shares them with those who dare to listen.